Welcome to the third Unbabel talk. It's my pleasure to have you all here. So today with us we have John, the CTO of Cloudflare. Before that, he did a PhD on mathematics and computation at Oxford University. And I also just found out now that he's also a writer. And he wrote an amazing book called Travel for Geeks. So I think we could all enjoy it. And with no further ado, John, up to you.
Thank you. All right. Well, you can clap if you want to, but don't. It's not so important. So I'm going to use this microphone. Ok, bom dia. Eu sou John Graham-Cumming, o CTO do Cloudflare. E agora eu vou falar em inglês. That's about the limit today. Joao asked me to do a talk. He suggested different talks I could do, and he said, could you do a talk about how Cloudflare thinks about security as a security company? And I have a talk here, but I wasn't going to do my laptop, and then literally as I was walking out of my place, somebody called me and said, we need you to do a Red October delegation. So we have an internal tool. This is actually it. It's called Red October. Who's seen the film Hunt for Red October, right? So in the film Hunt for Red October, they want to launch the missile, and they have the two keys, right? And they both have to turn the key to launch the torpedo. And for some of the secrets at Cloudflare, the top level secrets, there are a limited number of people who can turn the key. And you need multiple people. So I was actually doing that in a taxi on the way over here, which required me getting out a bunch of things. Let me see if I can find them. Right, this is my special. This is the key, the YubiKey key that unlocks the key that unlocks the key. So we get we have some things that require physical people to be involved. This was actually a certificate authority that needed an internal certificate authority that needed updating. So this is just what the interface looks like. And I think there's 5 of us, and 3 of them are asleep. So I got woken up. So anyway, that's the limit of things I'm going to show you. So I have some text. First of all, thanks for inviting me to talk about Cloudflare. And how we think about security. I am actually about to move to Portugal. My contract starts on the 1st of October, and I've been in and out of Lisbon for the last few weeks getting set up, getting a NIF, the most important number in all of Portugal, as I learned. There's no equivalent in the UK, and the UK is very anti any sort of identity. We don't have identity cards or anything like that. So it's a very big experience to come to a country where it's like, what's your identity? Essentially, what's your ID number? So, and I now know it by heart. And it's very, very important. I know that most of you don't have English as a first language. So I'm going to actually try and speak a little more deliberately and slowly than usual. And I actually wrote a text and tried to use some of the words I wouldn't normally use that are simpler, because I know, having done talks like this, it can be complicated. If I start speaking very quickly, because I got excited, will you please shout? Lentamente, please tell me. And also, one of the other reasons for writing this text is so I can give you the text, if anyone wants to read it afterwards, which may be easier. So no slides at all. This talk is about how Cloudflare thinks about the security of Cloudflare, not about the security of our customers, which obviously is our actual business. How we protect ourselves and how we secure the work we do every day. But I'm not going to really talk about our products except in passing. And I start with culture. So Cloudflare has an unusual security culture internally. So many companies have culture statements written on the wall. This is the culture of the company. I think most of those are 100% nonsense and should be ignored. Culture is literally how you act every day. I mean, as a foreigner coming into Portugal, the culture of Portugal is what I observe. It's not written down for me to read somewhere. So I don't know why companies try to write it down. It's how you act, right? One significant piece of Cloudflare culture is we have an internal security incident mailing list, which anybody can mail. So you see something weird, you send a mail to it. And they do. This month, there have been 55 messages to that mailing list from across the company, reporting some sort of security problem, or a suspicion of a security problem, or a fear about something. These mails come from every department in the company. This isn't engineering saying things. This is salespeople, marketing, people in finance, anybody who sees something. 2 to 3 per day. And every mail gets investigated by the security team. We have a dedicated security team. And they are all actually assigned an incident within our Jira. So we use Atlassian, and there's a Jira, so you can follow along what happened. And what do people send? Reports that their laptop or phone has been stolen. It's actually fairly common. What happens there is their credentials get invalidated, and they'll have to come to the company to be able to log in again. Suspicions about a weird email they've received. I mean, we get a lot of phishing and malware sent to us. It was stunning, actually. So Cloudflare went public Friday a week ago, and about 2 days after that, the amount of phishing and malware we got sent was incredible, just amazing. And actually, once we get those, then at a company level, we start blocking things globally. So one person reports it, often it's sent to many people. We can actually go into people's inboxes and remove mail that's in their inbox. So we'll actually go in and proactively do that. A concern about physical security. Occasionally, people just wander into our offices and have a look around. You know, it's happened in London, people, or they turn up and ask to speak to somebody, just like that. So there'll be physical things. Sometimes people click on bad things. They click on a link, they make a mistake. They lose their access card. And surprisingly, just occasionally, it's actually a problem with our product, right? Oh, I found a problem. You know, there's some problem I've noticed in our product I want to send. But it's mostly around internal people. Things like stolen or lost laptops, they happen way more often than you'd imagine. We lose 2 to 3 per month, which is stunning, right? They get stolen out of cars, people leave them somewhere. The 2 classics are in London, don't go to a pub and leave your bag next to you because someone walks off with the bag. That happens all the time. In the San Francisco Bay Area, don't leave it in your car because cars get broken into. If people follow that advice, we'd probably not lose any laptops. For that reason, we obviously use full disk encryption on our devices, complex passwords, 2-factor auth, all of those sorts of things, so that actually when we lose a laptop, even though we invalidate credentials, we're not actually too worried about it. We're worried about the cost of it, that's all. The big thing is, this is 100% blame-free culture. So the reason why people report stuff is they don't get blamed for doing something. So if you click on something bad, if you download malware, if you do a thing, no one's going to blame you. We want to investigate, we want to know quickly. And, you know, people lose their phones. People do type in their credentials on phishing. It happens, right? People fall for it. And that's led to a culture of reporting problems, however minor. And this is really our first line of internal defense, is people just saying, hey, a bad thing happened. And actually, this is probably the most important thing I talk about today. Right? There's all sorts of other things that are technically interesting and all those kind of things, but having that culture really, really matters, because anybody can feel free to do that. This month, there's some guy who's an idiot, who's the CTO, who clicked on a bad link. I was trying to find a laptop cooler, because my laptop's getting hot in Portugal, which it wasn't in London for some reason. Can't figure out why. And so I wanted to buy a cooler, the laptop to sit on. And so I started reading reviews, and somebody says, oh, I really like this one's really great. And I click on the link, and my web browser goes, boom, redirect, like through 10 different redirects, and suddenly something downloads onto my laptop. So great. So I reported myself to the mailing list, and I'm still here. So we know that's the culture, and the security team looked into, there's a ticket, they looked into it, they examined what the download was, what the risk was, and that was fine. I don't think I've ever worked anywhere with such a strong culture of reporting security problems, whether they're big or small. I think it's very important. All right, so that's internal culture. Let's talk about hackers. We have a couple of ways in which we work with hackers. So we use a company called HackerOne to let people report security problems. So we have security mailing lists, you can go to the HackerOne site and you can report something you found on the outside. And so we do that. So this month we've received 14 supposed reports of security problems through HackerOne. And to be honest with you, most of what we receive through HackerOne is very low priority. Often what happens is people will run an automatic scanning tool, and they'll say something like, there's a very small configuration problem here, or, it doesn't meet their incredibly exacting standards of what they think the perfect configuration should be. or actually quite often they don't understand what the tool said and they report something which is completely useless. That happens quite a lot. But we triage and handle them all because occasionally someone comes in and says, hey, I found a cross-site scripting attack on your sales form on this website, right? The Spanish translation of your website has a problem here, and that kind of stuff. And that's really super important. And we fix those things. We also have a private paid bug bounty program. So rather than having a public bounty program with large dollar amounts associated with it, what we do is, for the top hackers who report things to them, we invite them to work with us. So we have right now 150 hackers who are in that program, and they get paid cash for vulnerabilities they find. And they find very high quality problems. So they're the most interesting group of people. And we found that a combination of the public program, which lets anybody report something, and then this private program where the best ones are invited in, is really working for us in terms of finding problems from the outside. So those two things, and the public one and the private one are actually managed through HackerOne. So you can triage who your best hackers are and then work with them closely. Okay, so that's culture, and then working with hackers. If you think about all of the things I've just talked about, they are non-technical problems. They are people problems, right? They're about how do you encourage the culture and how are you working with the people who want to break into you. And when you think about people, what you're really thinking about is identity. Like, who are the people who have access to your systems that you work with? And so actually the third sort of really important thing when we think about security is thinking about, internally and externally, who's the identity of someone who's connecting to us, and particularly internally, right? So identity and authentication, these seem like really boring topics, but they're absolutely the cornerstone of being secure. Because if you don't know who's logging into your system, then you don't know what access they have or what they're allowed to do. It becomes a really big problem. And in fact, just as an industry trend in terms of security, identity management and authentication is one of the biggest areas of spending for CISOs and CSOs in companies. So number one, people think of, I think one of the problems with security is people think frequently of Tom Cruise is going to parachute onto your building and then come in through a skylight with a USB key and infect your systems. Actually, that might happen, but the reality is that someone's going to have bad credentials, they've left the company, you never deleted their account, someone finds that and logs into one of your systems and then pivots from there. It's mundane stuff that actually gets you. And if you ever go back and look at real hacks, they're always very boring. Right? They didn't patch the system, they had bad identity. So identity is really important. And Cloudflare is no different, except it's slightly different in that we didn't spend a lot of money on identity and authentication, we built our own solution. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why we build our own solutions in this talk. To be honest with you, we did not always have good identity. Right? So the company grew, I was there when it was 24 people, it's now 1,300. For many years, we had a complete mess of different logins and passwords for different systems. It got to a point where a new employee in engineering had access to about 50 different systems, all with different logins. And it was just impossible. Like, somebody comes on board, they've got to be set up for Google, and they've got to be set up for Jira, they've got to be set up for the VPN, the Wi-Fi network, the blog, HR systems. So that's a nightmare. And then, of course, when they leave, it's even more of a nightmare because you've got to undo all that. And it's very easy to forget one, and it happened all the time. Frequently, someone's account would be left running, and then, 3 months later, someone would be like, hey, why has Joe still got an account on this system? So, well, we forgot to delete it, right? It was a huge headache for us, and it's a huge headache in general. And so if I could tell companies one thing they could do, it's, to have better security is sort out identity and authentication. We did, and it made things a lot better. It makes the process of bringing someone on board smooth. Oh, new person's joined. This is what systems they need access to. This is what they don't have access to. It's done. And when they leave, the opposite can happen. I have one login via a product we built called Cloudflare Access. Cloudflare Access is what Google would call zero trust. We don't have a VPN anymore, or we do, but it's barely used. I can open my laptop here and log into our systems over your Wi-Fi securely, authenticate and get to all the systems that I need to do with one username and password and two-factor, which is my YubiKey here. I actually, just before I came here, I looked in LastPass to see how many other usernames and passwords I had. I have 5 total. One of them is the primary one, and 2 of them actually I deleted because I realized we'd already migrated those systems onto Cloudflare Access. So we have one way, so if I leave, they can invalidate that and everything is gone. And yeah, we do use password managers. We use LastPass at a corporate level, and we have very high quality password requirements. Everybody uses 2-factor authentication. Everybody has a YubiKey or multiple YubiKeys, or they have Google Authenticator on their phone, depending on how they do things. We had great fun rolling out the YubiKeys to the whole company, so we didn't have them, right? And every year, Cloudflare has a thing called the retreat, where everybody gets together, the whole company flies to one location and gets together. So it's about 1,000 people, right, at the last time, in a hotel for 2 to 3 days. What we do is we do work together. We learn from outside experts. Last year we had a bunch of people come from Harvard Business School and teach classes. You could choose what you wanted to do. You could also choose to do lock picking if you wanted. I did something from Harvard Business School about analyzing financials of a company and lock picking. So it was like you can choose those things. And then we do physical and cultural activities. So I went on a really long hike. Other people went canoeing. But one of the most fun thing we did was give everybody YubiKeys. So we gave everybody a pair, the little one I have in my laptop here, which is the tiny one, and also the Bluetooth Titan key from Google, so they could authenticate over Bluetooth. And it was kind of epic, because we got the whole company, imagine in 2 rooms, like 500 people in each room, setting up their system. And I learned one important thing for that: do not turn on 500 Bluetooth devices at the same time. I mean, Bluetooth can barely cope with 1. Eventually, actually, in order to get my Titan key to even recognize that my laptop existed, I walked out of the hotel and up a small hill at the back to be so far away that it could suddenly see my device. So that was fascinating, but it gave us a level of security where we know that everybody has a physical token. Another important thing we did was we implemented automatic timeout of credentials. If you don't use your credentials, you lose access to the systems. So, somebody comes on board, we say this person needs access to these 3 or 4 systems, and then they don't use one and we have different timeouts depending on the system. If you don't use it, you lose it. And you can go ask for it again if you actually do need it occasionally. But that has enabled us to really cut down who has access to the systems. We want to control that. Okay, so that's identity authentication. So what seems like a really boring topic is like, the foundation for the building is knowing who can connect and what they can connect to. All right, I just want to talk a little bit about something that is cultural at Cloudflare, which is openness. Some of you know that in 2017 we had a really horrible bug in our software called Cloud Bleed. What happened was the bug leaked memory from inside our servers into the response you got when you were web browsing. So you'd get the page you wanted plus some other stuff. And that other stuff included other people's web browsing information. So a response they might have been getting or the request they were making, which is incredibly sensitive. And that was bad. But what was worse was that there are search engines that cache things. So some of the search engines were hitting the bug and then caching private information. And so we had to do 2 things. We had to stop the actual bug. That was easy. We instantaneously, once it was reported to us, fixed it. Actually, it took about 47 minutes to just shut it all down completely. But then we were dealing with what was a bit like an oil spill, right? Private information had been spilt, and we had to go and clean up seabirds and get the oil off them, right? And there's no search engine in the world, and there are a lot in the world, who expect someone to come along and say, can you do this random thing for us? Clean up these cache items. And that was incredibly difficult, except actually, funnily enough, for Yandex, where Yandex, who I've met the CISO of Yandex once. I sent him an email, and he just replied, give me a list of URLs, I'll delete everything. So I was like, all right. And it took 5 minutes. He's just like, I'll just do it. It's done. Whereas other companies had a lot more process. And, there were some interesting surprises about which search engines actually have relationships with others, where we'd say, can you delete this from your cache? And they'd say, have you deleted it from company Y's cache? And we'd say, yes. They're like, well, don't worry about it then. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So that search engine is actually using some other search engine. So that took a long time. It took about 10 days to clean that stuff up. But from the very first night we had this problem, we began documenting what had happened and what we were doing because we knew we were going to have to talk about it publicly in detail. And are there any VI users here? Okay, I just would like to say that I used Emacs to keep track of it, so I hope that doesn't offend anybody. But right in the dead of the night when this happened, I just opened up a scratch buffer in Emacs and just started noting. We did this happened. Oh God. And that record turned into a giant disclosure blog, which you can still read, that had all the details of how we screwed up, the consequences, how we reacted, what we're doing about it is epically long. And then we followed up a few days later with a statistical analysis of what had happened because we wanted to understand had anybody exploited it, how much had been leaked, what was the risk, all this kind of stuff associated with that problem. And that approach of being totally open was a huge success, absolutely huge. What happened was people trusted us more after we'd leaked private information than before. I was actually on my way to Berlin. I was actually on a flight to Berlin from London to give a talk about this. A detailed talk, about Cloudflare to a big online retailer in Germany. And I suddenly said, wait a minute, they're not a customer of ours, are they? To the salesperson who was with me. I suddenly realized I'd never seen their name. He's like, no, they're a customer of one of our competitors. And I was like, what the hell am I doing? And I walked in, and there were 1,000 people in an auditorium or online. They were a huge engineering team to hear the talk. So I gave my talk and talk about it. And afterwards, the VP of engineering came up and said, thanks very much. We really wanted to understand it. And I said, yeah, but why did you ask me? You're not a customer. And he said, well, in that blog post, there was more information than our vendor has given us in the last 5 years. And we decided we wanted to work with you because you were transparent. We trusted you more. And we just wanted you to come and talk to us. So I was doing a sales pitch, really. And actually, at RSA last year, I gave another talk about this. And the CSO of a really big firm, which I won't mention, but it's very famous, said, can you come and do this talk internally? Because we've had security issues, and I think she was basically saying they've been covered up. And we want to try and encourage this culture. So, I think it really helps. And some of you, if you're a Cloudflare customer, will know that on July 2nd we had a nasty outage, which wasn't security related. And again, we blogged in incredible detail about what happened, how we fixed it, what the problem was. And I had to speak to many of our customers, and they just like, yeah, we get it. These things happen. Thanks for telling us. And I will tell you one thing, the more a customer pays you, the less angry they are. It's the inverse relationship. Because you know what? They're dealing with their own problems. They've had problems too. So be open with people. The less they pay you, the more irate they are. The best ones are the free customers who say they'll never work with us again. Okay. I'm sorry. But so the lesson is being open. It really, really creates trust, right? It's the same thing for the culture thing I said at the beginning. And if people trust you, they'll tend to tell you what your own problems are. I receive via Twitter and via email, people just email me, hey, I think I found a problem. I think I saw a thing. But do that. All right, enough about trust. What changed after Cloudbleed was a little bit about how we write software. So Cloudbleed was caused in part by using memory unsafe languages, so C in that case, right? So in that case we had a component that was auto-generated C, and the auto-generated C could run past the end of a buffer and just start spilling memory out into the world. We didn't want that to happen again. That was bad. And I don't want to lose that much sleep. So we prioritized languages where that can't happen. We took away the sharp knives from the children so they don't hurt themselves. We better edit that out so the engineers don't think they're children, but it's fine. So Go and Rust. Cloudflare was fairly well known for using Go. We've been using it since 2011. If you've ever been to a Cloudflare website or used an app which has used an API, which I can assure you did already today because of our scale, you did a DNS query, they hit a Go program called RDNS. And it's performant, responsive, it works great. Especially now the garbage collector is not terrible. It's got a lot better. We could actually measure DNS query response time on the internet and tell you which version of the garbage collector we were using, because you could actually see the DNS queries like boom, or sometimes like this, or different shapes. But there's also a lot of Rust being written in Cloudflare. Some of our newer programs are created using it, probably some of our newer problems too, actually. But our newer products are being created in it. So one of them is we have a thing called firewall rules. And to give you a sense of this, what firewall rules does is you can write an arbitrary pattern using the Wireshark language, if you use Wireshark ever, to match traffic as it comes into Cloudflare. So you're a customer and you say, hey, if it looks like this, it's got this IP address or this URL or this pattern, I want you to treat it differently. And that program needs to be very low latency because it's actually in line with whatever's happening, very stable and secure, and Rust has been a very good choice for it. And to give you a sense of the scale, Cloudflare does around 15 million HTTP requests per second. So that thing needs to really, really work very, very fast. So Rust has been great for that. The other thing I would say is that the other post-cloud big change is that security is a company-wide commitment. It's not about an engineer writing good code or a security team that sits in the corner and yells at everybody or does something like that. And one big change was that if your code crashes at Cloudflare on the edge, I get emailed. I get literally an email. And if your code crashes a lot, you get an email from me. And so what that's done is it's driven down crashes in our system to, when they pop up, because software crashes, right? There's problems. And the reason we did this is that Cloudbleed, the signal that we missed was that Cloudbleed was crashing our machines, and we were like, yeah, don't worry about that. Of course the software crashes from time to time. Don't worry about it. And of course, actually, yeah, we knew exactly when it started crashing, and we knew that was when the problem started. So the teams tend to take things seriously, and if they don't, then I call them up and ask them what they're doing about a crash. We use Sentry